I'm here with Frank. I must say he's looking a little bit dejected. Normally when I interview Frank, he's a lot more, how can I put it, upbeat. But I'm guessing that, like many, you're a little bit despondent at what's happening at the moment. Arsenal drawing 0-0 today at Forest. Or are you despondent? I mean, I've spoken to some people. They say that a draw wasn't too bad given the circumstances, given the fact that we're away from home against a good team in Forest. So maybe we shouldn't have expected too much more. Frank, what do you say?
No, I don't follow that opinion. It feels like Groundhog Day today, similar to the West Ham game. I know we didn't lose this game, but nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing. The one thing we had going forward was the person that he decided to sub off today. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like I say this every week now, but now I feel like I've hit my limit in how positive I can be. We're at a point now where I think something like 11 or 12 games to play, we are 13 points behind Liverpool, who have won again tonight. Not even I can say anymore that the title race is still on. I think for me, this was the final nail in the coffin for me.
I must say though, Frank, I'm surprised you even going into today thought that it was a possibility because I'd given up the ghost on Saturday. I must admit.
I get that, but obviously the fact that Liverpool have won today, that also contributes to it. It would take a catastrophic drop in form from Liverpool, and for us to go essentially 100% for the rest of the season to even stand a chance, to even be back in the conversation for the title race. And I'm just frustrated now at this point because I'm fed up of saying there's always next year. And I feel like I've said that for the past 23 years of my life, and it's just increasingly frustrating. And we just need to get to a point, for me, where we're consistently challenging, because right now, at this point, we've challenged for the last 2 seasons, and I think that's clear for everyone to see. But for me, at this point now, it looks like we're going backwards, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, I can feel the pain in your voice. You're clearly disappointed. Looking at the team tonight, was you surprised as I was that a couple of the positions there? I mean, Partey didn't play. Okay, he didn't play well on Saturday, but even so, I was surprised to see him left out.
I disagree with that point. I think.
You do?
I think Partey was one of the better of the 3 in the West Ham game. Not that any of them were outstanding by any point, but the point that I have on this is Thomas Partey has been our best midfielder this year. Even with the fact that he's probably played about 25% of those games at right back, he's still been our best midfielder this year. What is the thought process behind leaving him out of the starting 11 when he does?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where I was coming from. I was surprised to see him left out.
This is what I'm saying. And for a Jorginho, who you normally would bring on to see out a game, whether it's, you're drawing with Manchester City at the Etihad or drawing with Liverpool at Anfield, or you just comfortably want to breeze through with a 2-0 win. That's normally when you bring Jorginho in. I'm a fan of Jorginho's, don't get me wrong. I feel like for what we brought him in to do at Arsenal, he was never going to be supposed to be the player that started. He was always going to be a squad player. And I think we've got great value for money in that sense. But to start him today against a Forest team who are well known for being quite hard to beat at home at the moment, it didn't make any sense to me. And if we weren't 13 points behind Liverpool, I think today would have been a good result for both teams. But it's not good enough. I said it last week. We have to be perfect from now until the end of the season. And literally the next game, we've not done that. So I can't see a route back into the title race for us now, Laurie, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with that. Like I said, I thought it was all over on Saturday. I mean, to my thinking, if you can't beat a 16th place West Ham, which they were at the time, going into that game on Saturday, at home when you need to.
I get it.
And West Ham were coming off, 6 games, only 1 win.
Yeah, I get it.
You don't really deserve to win the title.
I get it. And maybe I'm potentially blinded by my love for the club. I want us to do well, and maybe my thought process is because of that. But I think as a fan, you can only take so much, and the frustration for me is just getting the better of me now. And it's mainly frustration stretching back to, the transfer window again, because it's clear we've had another game now where we've had 10, 15, 20 shots and not seen a single goal be scored. And obviously, for me, it goes down to, poor recruitment for the last 2 transfer windows. We should never, ever be in a situation where we're playing a central midfielder in striker in what was supposed to be a title race. We're not 2012-13 Everton playing Fellaini up top. We're a team that's fighting for the Premier League title, and the fact that we're in this position, I get it. Injuries happen. We didn't plan for Gabriel Jesus to be out for a year. We didn't plan for Kai Havertz to be out until the end of the season. But there were options available. I said it to you last week. Evan Ferguson wouldn't have been at the top of my list, but if it meant signing him over no striker at all, it's an option I would have looked at. Randall Kolo Muani should have been an option. He went on loan to Juventus. There was definitely options available. And for me, I know a lot of criticisms being aimed at the
Ollie Watkins.
Ollie
we're
Watkins,
told could have been
there you go. But I kind of get
Marcus
that one.
Rashford. Could have been.
I don't want any Rashford anywhere near this club. But a lot of people, I think there's been a lot of criticism towards the board in the in the recent months leading up to this downfall of the club at the moment. And I struggle to blame the board because they've definitely put the money in. We're in 5 seasons of Arteta, nearly £700 million spent. You can't say that the board haven't provided money to the manager and the rest of the recruitment team. I think it now goes down to Arteta because obviously he has a role to play in, identifying players that he wants at the club. I think it definitely indicates a reason why Edu's now no longer at the club. I think at the recruitment level is where we have gone wrong, and we're at a point now where people have blood on their hands, unfortunately, in that recruitment team, whether it's Arteta, whether it's Edu, whether it's the scouts. We needed to sign a striker. We didn't do it. This is what happens when you don't do what you need to do.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would argue with that, Frank. However, there are some big games coming up, notably Wednesday against PSV in the Champions League. The only competition that realistically Arsenal have a chance in, if you indeed say it's realistic. How do you think we shape up against PSV on Wednesday?
PSV have just lost to Go Ahead Eagles. Have you ever heard of Go Ahead Eagles?
No.
Exactly. 7th in the Eredivisie. And obviously the Dutch league, no offence to any Dutch viewers or anything like that, or anyone that follows Dutch football, but it's nowhere near as strong as the Premier League is. If PSV are a team that are losing to 7th in the Eredivisie, if we don't win, it's not even unacceptable, it's unforgivable at this point.
Although they did put Milan out in the last round.
Yeah, I get that. Things happen, but, my point is it's a team that we should still be beating. If you're going to bow out of the title race in the way that we clearly have today or last week or whenever you believe the title race was done, you need to put in the effort in the Champions League. And I expect us, I'm going to touch wood when I say this, I'm expecting as a bounce back to this result and the result last week, an absolute pasting of PSV at this point, because I feel like
I do think you may be stretching it a little bit when you compare, because let me put it like this. I don't know the exact situation. I don't know the details behind that game. But I can tell you now, the PSV that played Go Ahead Eagles, that's what they're called, that will not be the same team that come up against Arsenal in the midweek. And they will be far more focused on it. And I've seen them play in the Champions League a couple of times this season, and they have looked good. They've got guys like Noah Lang, Bakayoko up top. In fact, arguably their forward players at the moment are in a better position than ours.
I get that.
So we do need to take them seriously.
I get that, but we've proven we can beat them already. We've done it last season. Obviously, it's not the same Arsenal team that we saw last season. We're a heavily injury-ridden squad at the moment, and obviously not playing the football that we was playing last season. But nevertheless, regardless if they knocked out the Milan, I respect the players that they've got, but it's still a team that we should be beating. And I feel like the players and the manager...
We should have beaten West Ham.
We should have beaten West Ham, but I feel like now the players and the manager owe it to us to go and put out a solid performance in the Champions League. I get it. We need to go through. We 100% need to go through. And whether it's Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid in the next round, we need to, if we're going to go out, which it looks likely we're probably going to, if it is Real Madrid, for example, we need to go out fighting and not like we have in this Premier League title race.
Just quickly, would you make any changes to what you saw tonight? Is there anyone on the periphery of the team should come in? Is there anyone in the team at the moment you'd like to see come out?
I don't think, unless you're going to play Cabia and Butler Oyedeji, which I don't think he's going to, I don't think he can. I was desperate for him to take Ødegaard out, but all that's going to happen is he's going to put Trossard into the midfield, who probably doesn't deserve to be starting himself, and it's going to be Sterling on the wing, who I never want to see in an Arsenal shirt again. So we're so limited in our options that even if I wanted us to make changes, I don't feel like we can. And I suppose I should cut him a bit of slack there in the sense that his options are limited, but that's what happens when you don't sign players in the January transfer window. Simples.
I think you're right. Thank you very much, Frank.